Hello, welcome to this video mini lesson introduction to Reading to Learn and how Reading to Learn fits in with our course. Since you were a little spud, you learned to read. And then probably around in the 3rd grade or so, you started to read to learn through massive use of books and other reading materials. Well, interestingly, throughout your life, you continue to learn to read. Each field and subfield has certain expectations for technical reading that participants in that field are expected to do. For example, in our field of educational leadership, you're expected to learn to read research and even different types of research, like empirical research and non-empirical research and meta-analyses and all different kinds of research. And then in addition to that, you're expected to learn to read theory and literature reviews and different sort of structures of reading, like compare and contrast and point counterpoint. And let's see here, you're expected to read peer-reviewed materials and white papers, and let's see here, what else? Exploratory papers and viewpoint papers. And if you're starting to feel a little bit overwhelmed at all of this craziness, well, that's understandable. The point is that we don't stop learning to read in, say, 2nd or 3rd grade. We continue to learn about different structures for reading and different terminology for reading. And so our ability to read and hopefully read critically increases over time. And in addition to that, we are reading to learn. And the reading in this particular course is heavy, even heavier than this giant fire truck here. Yes, I know that's a little bit scary, but it is true, and we will all get through it together, and we will be better people. In each of the modules for this course, there are certain readings you are expected to complete. And for each of the readings, I will establish a purpose for reading. This will help you to access certain cognitive bits of your brain that will ready you for reading and for taking in meaning from the reading that you do. And in addition to that, I will offer pre-reading, during reading, and after reading activities. These are very brief things that you can do to help you make the most out of your reading. These are all voluntary. None of these are required. They're strongly encouraged, though. So, what I want you to focus on doing in this class is reading critically. What does that mean? It essentially means reading against the grain. So, which you've probably been taught throughout your entire life, is to read for meaning, for comprehension, to try to understand what the author is saying. And that's certainly a part of what you need to do to read critically, but that's not all that you need to do to read critically. When you read critically, you're considering who the author is, who the audience is. What is the author trying to communicate? What is the author implying? What is the author assuming? What is the author left unsaid? What sort of bias or perspective is the author bringing to her subject? What alternative or opposing ideas are not incorporated into the particular text that you're reading? To what degree do you, as a reader, agree or disagree with the author's perspectives? What does the author ignore or not consider? And then also, as a reader, what you want to do, make connections between the text and other things. So you want to make text to text connections, and as you can tell, I'm not an author, those are, or illustrator, those are actually supposed to be books. So connect the readings that you're doing to readings that you've done in the past. So those are text-to-text connections. You also want to make text-to-self connections. So in other words, how do your readings connect to which you know, which you believe, your prior experiences, your prior learning, etc., etc. And then you also want to make text-to-world connections. And this is my very pathetic attempt to draw the world. But anyhow, don't forget Europe over there. Anyhow, you're supposed to be trying to make connections between the text that you're reading and the larger world in which we exist, in which you can learn from that world. So, in addition to those other elements of critical reading that I just mentioned, you also want to be doing these things as well, making all of these connections. And if you're able to make these connections, the whole world will open up, and hopefully you'll have an amazing experience not only in this class, but in the rest of your courses throughout your EDS program. Thank you, and as always, if you have any questions, please let me know.